Jake Paul taking on Tyron Woodley. A lot of controversy being stirred up. Let's get into it.
The teller, the teller, the teller.
MMA fortune teller.
The teller, the
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller, the teller, the teller.
What's up, you guys? I've been getting a lot of messages from you guys wanting me to go in depth about this fight that's taking place this upcoming Sunday night. Jake Paul, the Disney star slash YouTuber, taking on the ex-welterweight UFC welterweight champion of the world, Tyron Woodley. This is an intriguing matchup. It really is. You know, if you listen to people's thoughts on this fight, one way or another, you have people that are so emphatic that Jake Paul is gonna work Woodley, or then on the other side you hear the exact same thing, that Woodley's a real fighter, he's a real athlete, a UFC champion, he's gonna destroy Jake Paul. You know, you hear a lot of people that are on really one side of the fence, in my opinion. I've heard a couple people that are down the middle. Dan Hardy took a dive into this fight over on his channel, the Full Reptile or whatever it is, and you know, he was saying this fight's a coin flip. You guys are going to get my thoughts on this fight here in a second. This was the press conference that took place earlier today. There was some controversy that took place. I definitely want to touch upon that as well. My Instagram is on fire right now. A lot of people getting upset about a post that I did. I want to talk about that a little bit. Got UFC fighters even throwing shade at me in the comment section. Kama Worthy, a guy that I've actually interviewed, I had him on MMA Live Discussion, was not happy about my post. So I do want to shed some light on that. We got Anthony Taylor. He's also throwing down this upcoming Sunday. A guy that I've also had the pleasure of chatting with on an Instagram Live interview. I think he has his hands very much full with Tommy Fury. But, you know, we'll talk a little bit about that fight. But, you know, here's the fight card. Or excuse me, here's the main event. But here's the entire fight card. We got Paul versus Woodley, but we also have, you know, a high-level women's boxing match right over here too, man. Championship fight. Amanda Serrano taking on Yemelith Mercado. A couple other interesting fights. I mean, these fighters that are on this card, they are by no means slouches. So you got to give credit to what Paul has going down over there right now. I mean, he's getting high-level boxing talent to fight on the undercards of his fight cards. And that's because he brings a large audience. It's a no-brainer for these boxers to perform there and to get their name out. And that's what's happening. Tommy Fury, the brother of Tyson Fury, 6-0. Again, Anthony Taylor, he's 0-1 as a professional boxer. You know, Montana Love, Ivan Baranchik, Daniel Dubois versus Joe Casumano. I mean, look, you could check the records out. I mean, these are solid fighters here. I'm not going to go in depth into all these fights. I want to talk about the Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley fight. Real quick, though, I will say that I do think that Tommy Fury is going to work Anthony Taylor. He's the much naturally larger fighter, and I think he's the much more skilled boxer, and I think that Anthony Taylor is going to have his hands full. And I think the only reason why he got that fight was, you know, Tommy Fury's really kind of padding his record as he's towards the beginning of his boxing career, as a lot of boxers do. Anthony Taylor is a guy that's brushing shoulders with Jake Paul. They're somewhat boys. I know they train together. There were some talks about them fighting, but they're boys. You know, they're all hanging around that same circle there. I know Anthony Taylor was in Puerto Rico. I think Jake Paul just threw him on the fight card there, gave him that fight. He's a guy that has a big mouthpiece himself. He's a cool guy. He likes to talk some trash. It's entertaining, but he's going to get worked by Fury, in my opinion. But, you know, we got the big fight, Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. What an intriguing match, really, on paper. in an awkward way. I mean, this guy Jake Paul comes out of nowhere. At least as far as I'm concerned, I never even knew who he was. Like I said earlier, I guess he's some type of Disney character or Disney show character. I never watched the Disney Channel, and in fact, I didn't like kids that watched the Disney Channel. I felt like it was, I don't know, something about it. Obviously, I'm kind of joking, but you know, when you're a kid, you have your set channels that you watch, and the kids that watch the other stuff, you're just like, when you're at their house, you're kind of annoyed by it, you know? Even your buddies, you know, but you're like, these guys are watching Cartoon Network or Disney Channel. I'm like, why the hell would they watch this stuff? I was always a Nickelodeon guy. If you guys want, comment below. I'm curious what you guys used to watch, but I was a Nickelodeon guy. I loved my Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, Doug, Cat Dog, Hey Arnold, all those types of shows. But I guess this kid, Jake Paul, was on the Disney Channel, and it must have even been later on. Probably not in my day, because obviously he's a lot younger, so he's only 24 years old. So I'm assuming this was even way past my time when I was watching shows like that. But never really was that familiar with him. I guess he had a little thing going on YouTube as well with his brother. But I just remember hearing a little bit of a buzz about him when that first boxing fight happened. He knocked some guy out named Ali something, and obviously at that point in time, it was just kind of a comical thing, right? These YouTubers are boxing. I was like, what is this? What's going on? But then as he got his second opponent, I was definitely paying attention to this fight. Nate Robinson, a guy that, as an avid sports fan, I was very, very, very knowledgeable about who Nate Robinson was. This guy is a freak athlete. I mean, for the size that he is, he was playing ball in the NBA for a long time. He could dunk. He could do all that stuff. I mean, we're talking about a freak athlete. Supposedly, he was working on his boxing skills. So it was an intriguing matchup. You know, you're talking about a true athlete fighting this YouTuber. A lot of people expected Nate Robinson to go out there and handle business, or at least show up. Was not the case at all. He got completely flattened out there. And then that's when I was like, oh man, who is this guy? You know, this kid actually has some pop in his hands. He actually knows a little bit what he's doing, right? We're not talking about top level boxing, but this kid actually is entertaining to watch, right? Besides just being a character, he's working on his boxing skills. He's sleeping dudes. You know, it's not easy to put on gloves and just go out there and sleep anybody like that, especially a guy that's moving around, all quickly and whatnot. Even though he was leading with his head, had horrible head movement, had his hands down at his waist, okay. But again, I just took a little bit of a note. I'm like, all right, this guy, he's working on his boxing game. And then he has the fight that was on the horizon with Ben Askren. I was very intrigued to see how that fight was going to take place. Now, of course, we got to remember Ben Askren. I've been following Ben Askren's career from the very beginning. He is not a striker in the least bit. He never was. You never saw Ben ever standing on the feet trying to really use any type of striking. Ben was always straightforward, trying to grab onto a leg, trying to grab onto your body, rip you down to the mat, work his funky ground and pound, his funky wrestling. That's what he did, and he made no bones about it. He never tried to act like he was a striker. He never even really said he was working on his striking that much. He said that he liked to go out there, take guys down, and beat them up. That's what he did. I mean, he's very, very involved in the wrestling game. He lives and breathes wrestling, and he comes over to fight this guy Jake Paul in a boxing match. I felt like Paul was going to win the fight. You guys saw the prediction video. I said I think Jake Paul is going to work Ben Askren. I just did not see Ben Askren showing me anything impressive on the feet with his hands. You saw him in the Damian Maia fight when those guys were on the feet for a little bit. I mean, it's really bad. But the thing you have to understand is that his wrestling's so high caliber and his grappling's so high caliber that he can get away with that fighting in the UFC and in MMA. But when you're in a boxing ring with boxing gloves on, and you can't hide from it. You can't stall. You can't wrestle and hold. I mean, eventually you're going to have to square up and throw some hands, and you saw what happened. When Jake Paul got that knockout against Ben Askren, I was impressed. And again, impressed in the sense of for what the situation was. For anyone that's watching this and say, oh, this guy is impressed with this guy's hands. What is he talking about? I'm talking about just compared to what the situation is, who his opponent was, and how long he's been fighting, his professional experience, all this and that. All right. So, I've watched him spar. I've seen some sparring videos from him, and I actually think that he's a decent boxer. I think he's a decent athlete. I think he's had some wrestling experience himself as a youth, as in his youth. Him and his brother. He's an aggressive dude. He definitely has power in his hands. He can throw his shots straight when he wants to, and I think that he's gonna have the edge in this fight in a couple spots. I do. Tyron Woodley. Let's not forget, Tyron Woodley is a guy that's never had a high amount of output in his fights with the striking. He's always been circling around the cage, looking to throw an overhand right, or drop you, or use his wrestling to get you down, work his ground and pound. You never really saw Woodley working combinations that smoothly, if we're being honest. I mean, whatever he did, it definitely worked for him. He was the welterweight champion of the world. He has dynamite in his hands. If Woodley connects, I think he could easily knock out Jake Paul. Let's make that clear right now. If he lands with that overhand right, he could sleep him. No question about it. But the problem I have with that is, the overhand right, it's not an easy shot to land, especially in a boxing match, when the only thing that's really coming at you is hands. And if Jake Paul had any proper training for this fight, he knows the right hand is the shot to watch out for. So he's gonna know that that's the shot that's coming. And other than that, he can defend from that, move away from that overhand. And I don't think he really has to worry about Woodley's left hook or his combinations working the body. I'm just not that much of a believer in it, to be honest. And another major X factor that you guys got to think about is, Woodley has looked absolutely horrible towards the end of his career here. Maybe I'm being a little bit hard on him, but he's definitely had a major decline in his career. Something went on with him, and I mean, you just looked at him in those last couple of fights, and we'll pull up his MMA career. I know it's against top level fighters, against the best fighters in the division, but it was the way that he was kind of just broken there, the way that his cardio was kind of failing him a little bit. He was getting taken down and broke. And as I said in previous fights too, he always was conservative with his gas tank, because he knew, in my opinion, that he would gas out. We saw that in the Nate Marquardt fight. Remember that Nate Marquardt fight a long time ago, where Nate Marquardt, shout out to Nate Marquardt, a legend in the game in his own right, but he put him up against the cage. Woodley was gassed out, and he worked him, put one of the nastiest combinations that you'll ever see together, dropped the elbows and hit him with the right uppercut, slept him. That was a fight where Woodley gassed out. Woodley's a very muscle-bound guy. This fight is going to be at a little bit of a higher weight class than Woodley's used to fighting. But what are they weighing in here? I think they're coming in at 190 pounds. So I mean, Woodley has no type of weight cut to worry about. I'm hoping he's working on his cardio and he's not carrying a little bit of extra weight and extra muscle, because he'll look even slower in there in the later rounds than he ever would have. So if you guys catch my drift, I think Jake Paul is going to win this fight. I think he's going to be in better shape, better condition. I think he's younger. I mean, he is younger. I think he's hungrier. And I have a feeling, this is an 8-round fight. I have a feeling that when this fight goes to the later rounds, once it hits that 4th, 5th round, I really have a feeling that Jake Paul is going to take over this fight. There were some rumors that Jake Paul takes some type of performance-enhancing drugs. There's been some people talking about that. It kind of leaked out through the grapevine, but I don't know nothing about that. I don't know if that's true, but if he is, that's another reason why those types of guys, I mean, if he's on specific types of things, they can go all day. But then at the same time, why couldn't Woodley take those same things? I don't know what the drug test situation is like for this promotion and whatnot. I really don't know all that. This is not really where I look to make big money. This isn't the type of fight card where I'm really prying into it and I'm trying to find a spot here. You guys know what my business is. It's mixed martial arts, in particular the UFC, but all major MMA events, but MMA promotions. But this is just an entertaining fight that I'm definitely going to be tuned into. I recommend that you guys check it out too. I think it's going to be an entertaining fight. There's so many variables. Another thing, it doesn't have Jake Paul's reach here, but I've seen them saying it says 76 inches here. I think I saw one that said 77. So Jake Paul's going to have a reach advantage for sure. He's the bigger dude, 6 foot compared to Woodley's 5'9". If Paul can try to keep him on the end of those punches too, that would definitely be a major plus for him. He doesn't want Woodley to close that distance and try to hit him with that overhand right. Take a look at the betting line here. Tommy Fury, a minus 1,600. I mean, these are what the boxing lines look like, guys, too. By the way, for those of you guys that are interested in boxing, betting on boxing, if you haven't, or for those of you that even know, the lines are so steep all the time, it's ridiculous. But the Jake Paul fight, he's a minus 200, which is a relative favorite, not too bad, right? In the MMA game, that's like a moderate favorite right there. And again, this is on Bovada LV. If any of you guys are looking to find a sports book online, I stand behind Bovada LV. It's what I've been using for years. And again, if you guys sign up to Bovada LV and you use my referral code, reach out to me. I'll give it to you. You can shoot a message down below, shoot me an email, a DM on Instagram, anything you want. I'll get right back to you. I'll give you my referral link, and we will both get a nice little bonus going into this event. Obviously, we got a big UFC event that's taking place this Saturday. That's what it's really about. But we'll both get a bonus, and I will give you guys 3 weekends of my package. So 3 weeks of my betting package for free. So just take that into consideration. But Jake Paul, a minus 200 here. I mean, when you're betting MMA, like I said, minus 200 is a moderate favorite. It's not really the best of lines. There's a lot of variables here. Got to give Woodley some respect as well. He is a former welterweight champion. Been putting in some work with Floyd Mayweather. But I think that Jake Paul is going to win this fight. I really do. And you guys know how I do it here, man. If I'm not a fan of somebody's, I will never ever take that into consideration when I'm making my selection. I always keep it real with you guys, and you guys know that. I do that time and time again. And I just want to shed some light. So basically, I just did this little post. So if you guys saw the press conference, Woodley's mom, I guess, was getting an argument with one of the guys from Jake Paul's team, and I didn't like the way that Woodley handled it. He's sitting there, he's telling his boy, hey dog, put the green light on him, this and that. He's sitting there barking from across the room. I know first off, I wouldn't bring my mom to any of my fights like that, because when you're going to battle, going to war, I don't understand why you're bringing your mom around, or your girl. They need to be stored away at the house. So I don't really understand his mindset on that. But I've never been a Woodley fan. Woodley always tries to claim that he was involved and around the Missouri gang scene. He grew up in the hood, this and that, which I'm not saying he didn't grow up in the hood, whatever, but he's not a gangster type of guy in the least bit. I know how to smell. I know I could smell him from a mile away. The guy's just not that type of guy. Time and time again, you see these incidences. The Conor McGregor incident, McGregor straight up squared off on him, sized him up and down after they had that whole little beef. Nobody was there. They're in the back. Woodley looks at him. Oh, hey, what's up? And this was after he was just barking on Twitter the day before. And that was that whole situation at the press conference with Eddie Alvarez, and that whole thing. But then you had the Hector Lombard situation that just happened recently. Hector Lombard pointing his finger right in his face, barking at him, and Woodley's all stone face. And I get it. Sometimes if you're confident, you don't really need to always lash out. But I know this guy's soft. I know that he's a soft type of guy. You could smell him from a mile away. That's the point I'm making. If somebody was ever even saying any type of thing to my mom like that, I'm not saying you got to go over there and start acting like a fool and ruin the whole event. But you damn well better go stand shoulder to shoulder with your mom and make sure everything's okay, because there's a whole squad of people. If you pull up the video, it actually wasn't as bad as I initially thought, but there was a whole squad of Jake Paul's guys in orange shirts surrounded all by his mom. You can't even barely see what's going on over there, but you see someone barking at your mom. How are you not shoulder to shoulder with your mom, making sure everything's straight? And if it's not, how are you not biting someone's face off if they're crossing that line? I don't care about money, none of that. If they're crossing the line, I'm saying if anyone's going near her, getting in her face like that. Imagine guys like Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz, Derek Lewis, Jeremy Stevens. I'm just throwing out names like that. There's so many guys. Comment below. You guys know what kind of guys I'm talking about. Do you think that if they ever had their mom at an event and somebody was mouthing off to their mom, that they'd be across the room, and meanwhile somebody was holding him back with his finger? The guy had his finger. Some guy, oh, stop. And he's like, oh, let me go. No, dude, you go up there and you stand shoulder to shoulder with your mom. He ended up leaving the event too by himself. He wasn't even with his mom. I don't know. I'm a different kind of guy, man. I'm more paranoid when it comes to that stuff. Maybe because I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of people in my comment section saying, oh, what's going to happen, this and that. I've seen a lot of stuff, man. I've seen moms get socked right in their nose for trying to break up fights after school, this and that. I mean, I know stories, people going to someone's house, smacking the mom up at the front door. I mean, everyone's seen different kind of things. Everyone lived in different types of lifestyles and seen different things. But see, I never really underestimate situations because anything could happen. So I don't know. But when it comes to my mom, or I don't think you should have your mom that too far away. Because crazy things happen in this world, man. Crazy things happen in this world, and I can go on and on about that. But maybe I shouldn't. But I got Jake Paul winning this fight. I think he takes this fight over in the later rounds. I think his reach helps him. I think his straight punches are gonna definitely be an added factor to him winning this fight. I think Woodley's going to be looking for that looping overhand right a lot, and these step-in types of power hooks that if he doesn't land on Paul and really hurt him bad, it's just going to gas him out. He's not going to have the amount of volume of strikes landed that Paul's going to have. I think Paul either wins a decision or maybe he gets the late stoppage. And also keep in mind, Paul's running this whole show. So if this goes to the judges' scorecards, listen, I'm telling you guys right now, boxing is one of the most corrupt sports in the game. The judges are literally in the pockets, or they're in the judges' pockets, however you want to say that. They're working together on this types of things, and those judges, I think for the most part, they get paid off a lot just to keep things going. Jake Paul right now is the cash cow. You got to keep him going. You got to keep him winning fights. There's so many big fights on the horizon for this guy. I mean, if he continues to win, and say Jake Paul ends up being 9-0, 10-0, and he's taking out guys, forget it. He's gonna be making big money, big money. That's a fact. I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but we showed a little bit of this earlier, right? His sparring footage. He's got some pop in his hands. How about this? This was a list of guys that he wants to take out in the near future. Touch upon this real quick. Where was it? Right here. He's already got this guy who I didn't even know who that was, but then Nate Robinson, Ben Askren, Woodley. He has Canelo next. Canelo would absolutely murder him. I don't even know why he's trying to put that there. Don't get it twisted. This isn't a Floyd Mayweather fight where you're getting him up in age and, like his brother, and you're able to just hang in there and survive. While you're juiced out off the gills, completely steroided out. Canelo, it doesn't matter. Canelo would sleep both of them on the same night at the same time. Nate or Nick Diaz, I think that they outbox Jake Paul all day. They mess him up. Usman would work him. Timmy Fury, but I think Tommy Fury is really the next fight they're going to try to set up. I think they're going to start hyping that fight up with Fury. Fury has the name. I think Fury would work him as well. I think so. Conor McGregor, I think McGregor would work him. KSI, I don't know about that dude. Gervonta Davis would destroy him. Logan Paul's brother, who cares? But those are some of the potential matchups we may see on the horizon, and we'll see if Woodley can dig himself out of the hole and maybe end his career on a victory. Because if he loses this fight, it might be the end of it. And this was his last fight against Vicente Luque. Landed a big shot on Luque early, but that was it. Didn't have enough power to put Luque out, but Luque has a granite chin. But once he landed that one shot, like I said, he's a one-trick pony. Luque started landing combinations, dropped him with a beautiful hook, and ended up taking him out. We'll see if Woodley can get this W. If he gets flattened out, he's going to be a meme, as Paul said. He's going to make him a meme. He's going to, it's going to be bad. Tyron Woodley tried to downplay it a little bit, but it's going to be bad. I think this guy really talked a lot of crap to him, and he's kind of one of the more ultimate trolls in the game. I think that if Woodley loses this fight, this is going to be a tough pill for him to swallow. So he better show up. I got Jake Paul winning this fight. I'm going to say that Jake Paul gets the finish in the later rounds. Maybe a TKO or a decision, but I got Paul winning the fight. Comment below. Curious who you guys got here. I know some people are upset with me because Woodley is an MMA guy, and I'm not backing the MMA guy. I don't like Jake Paul either. I'm not really that big of a fan of his. I really don't like Tyron Woodley. I was waiting to see him lose that belt for so long. I hated the way that he carried himself as a champion. He always had that entitled type of attitude. He was constantly complaining. It really kind of drove me nuts watching him be the champion. His little reign that he had, especially when he would go in time and time again and just barely eke out a boring decision. He had the one big fight over Darren Till. He was lucky enough to drop Stephen Thompson twice, once in each of those fights. Otherwise, he was getting picked apart. It was a boring fight, but he had those one moments where he dropped him, rained down some shots, and stole the fight. But he had so many boring performances. The Damian Maia fight, I'll pull it up real quick. But I mean, Woodley had so many boring performances if you really think about it. All these fights, he was running away the entire time. The Maia fight, the Stephen Thompson fight, knocked out Robbie Lawler. I mean, that's the thing. He has that power when he shows up and actually wants to perform. The Gastelum fight, that was controversial. I don't know. That Gastelum might have won that fight. But maybe not as boring as I thought. Maybe you have to go a little bit further back, but still, not a fan of this guy. He was talking about that he was the greatest welterweight of all time, that, he was calling for the GSP fight, saying he was a way better champion than GSP. I didn't like that. That's what I didn't like. When he was saying that he was a better fighter than GSP and that he was the best welterweight of all time, what did he do? I mean, what did he do? He had a draw, first off. Okay, he didn't even beat Stephen Thompson twice. Excuse me. He had a draw the first time around, won the second match. Didn't even want to engage against Damian Maia at all. When he could have just went in there and TKO'd him on the feet. But that's the type of guy we're dealing with here. I hope that he gets slept in the third round. We'll see how it goes. You guys, hopefully you enjoy this freak show taking place Sunday night. And on that note, signing out, Teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.